Hello friends, how are you today? I'm so excited to be here with you today and to talk about the Schumann resonance. Ooh, I have it on the frequencies. Let me try to put it onto there we go. This is what I wanted to chat with you about today. It's Wednesday, June 15th, this interesting energy structure right here on the Schumann resonance. Now, yesterday we talked about this big wave, and it was the second wave that also had what I called a red claw. So you can go back and look at those two videos if you'd like to know more about that, because there were two of these, the claw or the wave showing fully on yesterday's chart. And now what's interesting is you have this interesting structure here. And what I think of when I see this, I've seen this on the chart before, but it's like you have two poles. Hold on, let me see if I can just illustrate here. I love to illustrate. What I want to show you is that, so you've got this right here. So you've got this on one side and this on the other. It actually, when this kind of an image appears on the chart, it always reminds me of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, because the bridge is this kind of an orangey color. It's not quite orange, it's not quite red. And then it has these, the lines between these two sort of, I was calling these rods the other day, but this doesn't really complete. But you can see that some of the energy does go probably as high as 40 hertz here. So you have it on each side, and it does look like a bridge tower, doesn't it? With the connectors between. That's always what I think of first when I see this. But anyway, as I was saying, what this kind of reminds me of, we've had this theme or idea of calipers on the chart, measuring devices, right, or measuring frequencies. Well, to me, so these two rectangles, it's like you'll see in a minute there's downward spikes in the frequencies at these times. So it's almost like a ping, right, of frequency here, and a ping of frequency on the right side. And then between these two, there's a vibration effect. And how I think of it is that I think of it as locating. It's almost like, when you scoop up rice, let's say, and you have it in a cup, and you want to see if there's any impurities. So you shake it, right? And it vibrates against the walls of the cup, and the little kernels of rice vibrate against each other. And suddenly, if there's like a little black piece or a little shell or something like that, it will rise to the top. And when I see this kind of a shape in the Schumann, that's what I feel is happening here. It's like a frequency locator. There's a shaking up, a vibration, so that something rises to the top. And maybe when it rises to the top, it separates out. It's almost like the two posts on either side are like the sides of the cup that the rice is seated in. And I've talked before about how time in the chart is not always linear, because it appears that this is happening in linear time, right? That is how it's recorded on the chart. But I think that sometimes time is not linear, because we're talking about frequencies here. And we're talking about, in my view, potentially the greater group consciousness, the human consciousness musing over something, right? If this is a reflection of our consciousness. And so the mind and perceptions and insights can work very fast, but yet that has to be laid out in 2D time on this 2D, flat graphic. That's one of the reasons on my beginner playlist, where I have a video about, I think it's something like the mechanics of the wave. I explain about this detachment from time that is sometimes in the chart. That's actually a really cool video. I think it's a short one too. This idea about locating something that doesn't fit, that's kind of what this energy image is saying to me. And it kind of fit with these, I called these rods yesterday, but these pings we're having, ping, ping. And with each ping, as I said yesterday, with each ping, there's been kind of this agitation. And there was another one before this, but that's now on yesterday's chart. What I also said was that it's like the pings were more forward in time and the agitation was more distant in time. Although I realize that that's not how time appears on this chart. Intuitively, that's my intuitive sense. And so I just wonder if this pinging of these rods of white frequency, which I believe are a more expanded state of being, right? If they pinged and pinged and pinged something and it caused a revelation, which was this sort of six-fingered hand or red claw shaped wave. And now that revealed itself on the chart, we have this ping here, and then we have this one here, which is like, it's almost like narrowing in on a frequency and then locating it and then sifting out or allowing something to rise up that is different. And maybe, what is different relates to the energy that this represents. And maybe that's being sorted out and identified in the human collective as a thought. or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something about our consciousness and levels of consciousness. It's interesting because we had that, in my view, we had that feeling of forward in time and more distance in time with these images. And I'd even say this and this rod and this on the chart, right? Because this looks like something that's called forth by this higher frequency pinging in the foreground. But then when this vibration happens here, this is like it's all occurring in the same time. Suddenly all of this comes together and catches up. And in this one moment, the two timelines or the two groups perceiving time at different rates or the experience of that in living human form comes together, and for a moment we exist with each other at the same time. And when that happens, there's a vibratory effect and something rises to the surface that does not belong. And so that's interesting. That's what I perceive in these images today. Now, from the standpoint of just looking at the patterns and seeing images, it also looks like there's a person stepping forward here, and they kind of are in I don't know if it's a coat or a jacket that kind of is out in like a T here and then comes in. And their legs are down here and they're walking forward. There's someone behind them and they're kind of going to the left, which in my view is the past or deeper density as I interpret the images on the chart. You could almost interpret these as the attempt to step forward, something stepping forward as well. And this is really interesting too. Look at the red patterns here, almost where the point is at the top and the bottom. Diamond. Sorry. Diamond shape. And the one other thing I would note about the current chart is the technological effect is clearly still at play. And we talked about that this initiated around the new moon. And this big wave occurred about with the full moon, which was on the 14th. We have had this technological effect at play ever since then. Let's just see here. Yeah, and it's visible down to 40 hertz in the chart. So just keeping an eye on that and monitoring. Thanks, you guys. Let's see what happens tomorrow.